Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going over the best way to farm super credits, samples, and medals so you can set yourself up to never have to worry about farming any new warbond or superstore drip that comes out ever again, while having the fundamentals and efficiency to blast out samples and medals for whenever new ship modules and random content comes out that needs them. I'll also include what I think is the best and most efficient loadout for farming this stuff out against both factions, and I always update all of my text guides in Discord first, so make sure you join to keep up to date with what I'm doing. For now, though, we're lighting this off with the best way to farm super credits so you can get all the new drip. You'll be loading into all of these maps on tier 1, so there isn't very much to fight. The majority of games will have like 8 to 12 POIs from all the games we did. We also did try tier 2s and 3s out, but the increase in POIs was only like 10 to 16, and for double to triple the map size, it just wasn't worth it, and this was way more efficient across the board, whether I was solo or in a group. We were averaging like 1,400 super credits an hour in a 4-man, about 600 solo and 900 duo. I also highly recommend at least getting a duo for this so you can open all of the bunker doors, because we got a lot of double and triple stacks of super credits inside of them. They also did fix the Alt F4 thing, so you can't just do that and reset the lobby over and over again whenever you find that big 100 bang of super credits. So after you burn the map, just abandon the mission, go back to the ship. You don't actually have to extract, then just run back your next T1. Planet-wise, I also made a chart of the best and worst biomes to load into to generate super credits. This is based on the Mudang metric scale to give you the most super credits per hour, and for accurate degradation, this is based by cute, radiance, and super credits squared. After loading each of the 3 dang planets about 100 times, we found that these could easily be cleared in under 2 minutes and were very easy to traverse. We try to avoid big mountains and a lot of water on the lower tiers because the map is already so small that the POIs get eaten up by them sometimes. And this is an example of what you want to avoid, because it basically guarantees that there isn't enough room to spawn in anything for you outside of the main objective and extract. So what we're looking for is something nice and flat like this with no obstructions. All of the 3 dang planets will load like this regularly, but sometimes you will get a scuff load on some of them where there's a bunch of mountains, and some team ones can just load the main ob and nothing else, but that only happened once every like 40 to 50 games. If this does happen, you could just abandon right back to the ship if you feel like it. It's not that big of a deal, but for the most part, when you load in, it's going to be this nice wide open planet where you can see all the blinky lights right off the rip. Then you can just split up and run it down as quickly as possible and collect everything. Our max run without the big proc was 90 super credits, and that happened quite a bit, but on average we picked up between 40 and 50, so that's what you should expect. It also starts picking up really, really fast once you're doing this in a 4-man, and it was just crazy how many we were getting. And that lucky big 100 super credit proc seems to be about 1 in 100. Every like 100-ish pickups that you're playing at a party should be that. And we got most of those big procs out of the buddy bunkers. This also generated quite a few medals, so it's a really good double dip to just refarm your 1000 super credits for the next war bond and soak some bonus medals right after you buy like this one, for instance. Or if you just need to buy all the stuff in the superstore, you can just soak bonus medals by doing this. And I honestly think this is the perfect thing to do with the boys when you're just kind of like hanging out. You just watch a movie, you just do this in the background. You know what I mean? Now, the reason the no dang planets are no-goes is because the terrain just sucks, and you end up in these big tree lines like this map, and it's just hard to tell where anything is. You can get lost, and it just ends up being a laughable waste of your time, hence the kick W. We also found that bots basically had no enemies on the map, basically ever, and you could pick any of their missions, whereas the bugs, we had to focus on the Brood Commander kill because it force loads the POIs around that like weird swamp. Another reason I did the chart this way is because the planets are consistently rotating, but you can easily check the biomes by hovering over the planet, and if that's not enough, you can just click in at the top and it'll break the biome down for you. Now, build-wise, it's very straightforward because you're not really going to have to fight a lot of stuff, so just make sure you lock in a jetpack and the rest of your gear won't really matter at all. The jetpack speeds these runs up by a crazy amount, so just make sure you lock in the stamina booster or dead sprint, and then if you're in a 4-man, locking in with the bonus Hell Pod optimization, so you start with all 4 stims to go even faster, and then grab the UAV booster. You also just want to wear the highest speed armor possible, and I just lock in with the scout armor, so I had more scan range because it just doesn't really matter, and it's kind of thematic to what I used to do when we were doing the solo runs when the game first came out. Now, when we talk about sample farming, things do change quite a bit. We're looking for games between tier 6 to 10 because that way you can also generate the super samples. By the way, you won't really need a lot of pink samples later on in the game. Orange is going to be your gate, so make sure you just get as many orange as possible. So if you're an experienced player and you're good enough to solo tier 10s, you should just be blowing out tier 10 blitzes and just sucking up all the loot. It won't really matter if you're fighting bots or bugs at this point. You'll be good enough to blow the whole lobby out, but bugs are less prone to instantly killing you through walls for no reason, and the overall best build that I use for blitzing down these missions should look something like this, and was made to be universal to farm like those tier 1 missions, while also being able to farm those tier 10s. So the basic gear is before the, progress up arrow, and then on the left is the bugs, and on the right is the bots. Then stratagems should let you just WQ everything down without thinking. Eagle Airstrike is amazing for pretty much every situation, be it armor or chaff, and in the lower tiers, swapping it for Machine Gun Sentry works out because it will solo most of the enemies that spawn. Orbital Napalm Barrage roughly has the same cooldown as Colin, so you can just cast that at any breach or flare and walk away, and it'll pretty much blow the whole thing out for the most part. If you do move far enough away from most armored enemies, they do just snap despawn, so there's that too. And you can just also swap out Orbital Napalm for 380mm Barrage if you're trying to do things like full clears, because a good 380 throwdown wipes a base out, and you can just jetpack off into the distance without thinking about it. The Quasar Cannon is also to handle any armor we run into, because we just need something that we don't have to reload, and pairs really well with the jetpack because it speeds the game up so much. So for our tier 6 and 7 games, this is going to be where the vast majority of people are. This is going to be the easiest thing to random queue into because that's where the majority of people play, and it's where the majority of people are going to be farming. And this is going to go past just doing blitzes. It also applies to normal missions because we're looking for as much water and as many mountains as possible, which means that those images I showed earlier would kind of be reversed. It's a really good example of what you want on the higher tiers, because what it does is it forces all the enemy POIs to like stack up and be really close together, and then all the samples are going to be located in those, and you can just quickly blow everything out and zoom through and grab everything that you need and get in and get out. This also means that looking at the dang scale, the 1 dangs would be best for sample farming, but the Keck W's would still be annoying or bad, and this is the best speedrun method if you just need to pick up some like fairly fast. And while this might be the fastest way, I don't think it's the most efficient way to get it done, and that's not what I'm personally recommending. After random queuing a bunch of games, I found that people really like to full clear and go explore all the POIs, and they don't really like speedrunning that much. I also found it a lot easier and way more chill to just go full loot a big map rather than a search and destroy, and it only added like an extra 5 minutes to a full clear, and it was super consistent and just honestly a lot easier. It didn't matter if I was playing on 6 or 10. The big map just made things feel like there was no pressure or speed. And I think that one thing that happens, especially in random games when I'm doing blitzes, is people are forced to make too many decisions too quickly, and they end up dying a lot, versus the longer missions. I know people still die a lot, but everybody took it at a little bit better of a pace, and it seemed like there was a lot less mistakes. I also think that it's important, rather than needing to go like mega farm a bunch of samples super fast right away, that you just build good habits by learning all of the different POIs and where all the samples spawn in them, so you can just run through them really fast and soak everything up and then drop it all off at extract. So that way you're just passively gaining a ridiculous amount of them. That way you don't have to think about it. I built those bad habits up at the start of the game, and one of the memes on my stream until recently was how little samples we usually extracted with. But just taking that extra like 20 to 30 seconds to loot goes a really long way, and I basically exclusively play Super Helldive. So once you get to that point, even looting just half the map is a pretty substantial payout of basically everything you need. So for your sake and a better long-term experience, just take your time and learn to gather everything and then move on. Also, you can't expect this, and I sure don't expect this, to be able to like tell 3 random people how to play the game that they paid for, because they aren't going out of their way to look for a guide. But you are. So it's up to you to take the lead and go be the loot goblin that you were meant to be. When I random queue now, I personally just do the small orange objectives and leave the main orange objective for last, because once you beat it, it ramps the spawns up a little bit. And then what I do is I just go around and blast out all the unlooted POIs. You'll also know when a POI is fully looted based on the mini-map icon, so if the diamond is there, it means it's got some gas in it. But the Google Maps pin means it ain't got no gas in it and is fully looted, so you know when to move on. I also highly recommend, and thank you for watching the video this far, because you're about to get the mega tip, is that if you're just chill sample farming, you want the easiest possible missions, go on bugs. You can even load tier 10, it won't really matter, and look for the nuclear launch paired with data collection. This will regularly proc the bile artillery or green spewer seed with a variance of about like 1 in 60 games to be double charger patrols. If you get that, you just back out, it really doesn't matter. But because of spawn weights, when you get this bile artillery seed specifically, you get way less chargers and way less bile titans, and like the patrols are just those little green dudes that just die in one shot, and the big artillery spewers that also die in one shot to hit basically any explosives. So when you play the spawn sets, The patrols just let you W key through it, and all the POIs are super easy to blow out. I also have my spawn seed guides fully updated for this patch, and they will be coming out later this week. For now, this is just what you should be doing to farm samples, because these things are super weak to explosives and insanely easy to deal with. Because again, even on tier 10, they throw about half the numbers at you than the other spawn sets. In the speedrun build, I included a grenade launcher and a supply backpack as well, which literally turns this into a point-and-click adventure on Super Helldivers. So that should be everything you need to have the easiest and most efficient time farming all of the super credits and samples you'll ever need. And I highly recommend you join any creators community Discord so you can try and find some people to play with. Most of the communities do just want to play with their creator when they're streaming, but if you try hard enough and you keep asking around, you can make a squad with like-minded people to go vibe with, and hopefully you can make some friends to keep blasting with. So that's gonna be all for now. I wish you the best of luck out there.